Let's write our first if statement together. You'll need to start by typing some code inside the loop function. First, type if, followed by opening and closing round brackets. Your condition will go between these round brackets. I like to leave a space between the two round brackets to help me remember that my condition is going to go here. Next, you type an opening curly bracket. Next, enter down. When you do this, you may notice that the Arduino IDE automatically puts a closing curly bracket on the next line. This is because it's noticed that you want to type an if statement, so it's helping you finish it. Just in case your Arduino IDE hasn't done this, it's a good idea to check that there's a closing curly bracket on the next line. I'm going to give you some quick tips on curly brackets. Curly brackets come in pairs, an opening curly bracket and then a closing one. We can see two pairs of curly brackets here. There's a pair for the if statement and a pair for the loop. In the Arduino IDE, when you click a bracket, the Arduino IDE will put a little box around the other bracket that pairs with the one that you clicked. So if you're ever confused about which brackets are in pairs in your code, you can always click them and find out. Okay, back to our if statement. The space between those two curly brackets is for your block of code that goes inside the if statement. Curly brackets are used in Arduino code to make groups of things. You can use them to make a group of instructions, like several lines of code that go inside an if statement, or a group of values. This is called an array, and we'll talk about it later on. Now that we have the structure of our if statement, we need to fill in the condition and the code that goes inside the if statement. Let's start with the condition. It needs to be a Boolean value. Remember, that's either true or false, or in numbers, 1 or 0. So we can type true here as the condition. Go ahead and type true here in all lowercase letters. Next, we need to give the if statement some code to run if the condition is true. It goes here between the two curly brackets. We want this code to turn on the LED.
Coding challenge.
See if you can remember the right line of code to turn on the LED and type it right here. It's time to pause the video and do some coding. Unpause when you have your code doing what you want it to, or if you're really stuck. Awesome.led.turn-on should get the job done. Type that into your IDE right here if you haven't already. Now let's upload our code and see what it does. With this code uploaded, the LED should turn on. That's because the condition we used in the if statement is always true. Since the condition is true, the Arduino is running this line of code that's stored inside the if statement. Let's try changing our code and use a false as the condition in our if statement. Type false as the condition in your if statement. Then upload your code again. This time, the LED should not turn on. That's because the condition in our if statement is false, so Arduino doesn't run the code that's inside the if section. So now we know how to use if statements, and we know how the toggle switch works. Let's combine the two. Remember how awesome.toggleswitch.isOn returns a Boolean value, so it's either true or false? That makes it perfect to use as the condition in an if statement. Let's try it out. Instead of false as the condition in your if statement, you should type awesome.toggleswitch in lower camel case, so little t and a big S, dot is on, little I, big O, and then opening and closing round brackets. We're not going to put a semicolon here because this is not the end of a statement. The code between these round brackets is called an expression and does not end with a semicolon. You can think of an expression as some code that will turn into a value when it runs. We'll talk more about this later on. Once you've put toggle switch is on as your condition, try uploading your code and see what it does. Once you've uploaded your code, you might notice that it's not working quite how you want yet. But don't worry, that's because there's a bug, and we're going to find it and fix it in the next video.